Here we are, Matt. It's almost the end of the month, so it's time for a Framewreck episode. We're doing a stream on Battleship. Are we ready?
All right, let's do it.
Cool. All right, so let me get the opening theme song all queued up.
J6.
Who was that?
J6.
J sucks. J6. I don't know what you're trying to say to me. Who's J and why does he suck?
No, J6. Battleship. Do you have your board? I see the box in the background there. Are we doing this or?
Oh, you. No, Matt. This show we talk about movies. We're doing the movie Battleship because of my retrospective 10 years later thing. You know, Battleship came out 10 years ago. We're talking about the movie Battleship, not.
That's a bad movie, though.
Well, yeah, it's pretty atrocious. But this show is all about bad movies. You know, bad movie. That's why it's Framewreck, because we're wrecking the frames of the movie. You know, Matt. Hey, it's nice to see you're in your own house. Your own house. You've been missing for a little while. That's good news, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've always been in my own house. Now, are we going to play this game? Or...
B10.
You frame-wrecked my Battleship.
What a story, Mark.
Hello, I almost said hello episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Framewreck, our episode about Battleship, celebrating 10 years of 2012. That's right. On this channel and on my Letterboxd, I've been watching a bunch of movies, reviewing a bunch of movies that came out 10 years ago. We devoted this specific episode for one of the worst movies of 2012, Battleship, which, interestingly enough, neither of us had seen, and we thought it would be a fun experiment for the first time ever, have a movie that we have not seen that we can talk about. Because on this show, we talk about bad movies, but usually they're ones Matt is very fond of that he's introducing me to, and today we could introduce each other to the same film at the same time. Matt, how are you doing, Matt Chapmond? Good to see you.
I'm okay. I'm ready to talk about this bad film. It's bad, but it's the wrong kind of bad, I think. We'll get into that.
Yeah, because on this show, we talk about bad movies, but so bad they're good movies. So, like, we find the redeeming qualities, and we try to talk about what makes the movies we choose for the show enjoyable because they're bad, rather than this kind of bad, which Matt alluded to, which is just bad for the sake of bad and not that enjoyable. But hey, that's kind of the beauty of the show, is that when we go in blind, both of us, sometimes we're going to get films that aren't necessarily in the same umbrella as some of our other rooms and birdemics and all that stuff. But Matt, I don't really know where to start with this, but let's start 10 years ago, 2012. We're doing a retrospective, 10 years since this came out. I had not seen this. You had not seen this. And I don't know how many people actually did see this, because I don't remember this making too much of a splash, no pun intended, at the box office. But Matt, tell us a little bit about, just set the scene about Battleship.
That was better than any joke that existed in the movie Battleship, just so you know. Battleship was... it's based on the board game Battleship. And now, whoever did this, I forget. Universal, who was it? I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
I'll tell you in about 5 seconds. Give me 5, 4, 3, 2. Universal, you were correct.
Universal, I was right. Universal has... I don't know. I don't know if they owed... If they owed a life debt, or if they made a deal with some sort of a entity that Mattel was involved with, but they have this thing where they have to make Mattel properties, and that was how Battleship came about. In 2012, it was originally supposed to come out in 2011, but they ended up rescheduling it because, believe it or not, it was. They almost canceled it because it was they lost faith in it, and they decided, you know how we're going to fix this and make more money? Spend more money. They pushed more money on it, in thinking this will allow us to make more money back. Spoiler alert: we'll get to the legacy at the end. It didn't. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. But. So it's based on Mattel's board game Battleship. It was written by John and Eric Hober, and it was directed by Peter Berg, who is very hit and miss with me. Sometimes
hit or miss. I get it.
Yeah.
because Battleship you hit and
Yeah,
missed.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Peter Berg. I'm a big fan of Peter Berg in terms of I started watching Peter Berg movies when he was in like his peak, so to speak, like The Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day. Few years. I know there are faults to all those films, but like I enjoyed them when I was seeing them. But then when you kind of go a little bit further back in the filmography and a little bit further forward in the filmography, that's where he kind of loses me with your Spencer Confidentials and your rundowns and this especially.
Let me tell you, because when you're talking about the heyday, that I had stopped watching Peter Berg films for the most part by the time you're talking about what you're talking about. He got me with his first three, which I really love, which are Very Bad Things, The Rundown, which you unfairly maligned just now. It's a good film. I saw that movie in the movie theater.
Agree to disagree, but it's okay.
And Friday Night Lights. He made the movie version of Friday Night Lights, which I think is his best film. But yeah, and then he made some garbage for a long time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this is kind of into the peak of Transformers as well in terms of not peak in quality, but peak in popularity and just the crux of that franchise.
Find a peak in quality in that franchise.
His Bumblebee, baby.
I guess that's true.
That's an outlier. But it's interesting because it's like, had they not learned, I mean, that's a tough thing. Is like they see the box office and they're like, yeah, Hasbro, keep it coming, like let's go. But then it's also like quality. I mean, none of these movies are getting great reviews. Maybe the first one got okay reviews of Transformers, but it's like it really goes to show that they're more concerned about the dollar than they necessarily are the product and the critique and the criticism, because this oddly enough does get nominated for awards, just not the ones they probably wanted. So
that's true. It's like I have to assume that this whole Mattel situation or Hasbro / Mattel situation that they have going on over at Universal has to be one of those things where it's like you're at the casino and you've just been losing, but you're like, the next one has to hit. Like statistically, something has to hit, and that's why they did 17 Transformers out of it. I stopped watching early on. They did G.I. Joe. They did Battleship.
Right. But unlike Transformers, these were not necessarily box office smashes. In fact, the box office only made $100 million more than the budget, which is a profit. But at the same time, it's not the profit you want to see. You really want to at least double your money, and they did not really do that, because also the budget doesn't really acquire or include the marketing and all that stuff as well. So that's strictly the money it made or took to make the movie, which is $200 million, but it only made 303 back. You got to think there was at least probably another bunch of millions more put into the marketing. So I don't know if they necessarily lost money, but they didn't necessarily make a lot of it back.
And I was going to touch on this toward the end, but now that we're talking about it right now, it while it did money positive in terms of how much it cost to actually make the film, you have to double it, because you have to talk about marketing. And the more money a movie costs, the more you have to spend on marketing. The Hollywood Reporter estimated that the film would lose $150 million. And there's been no dispute of that. It came out on home video and made $34 million. So it did not make it up in home video.
Yeah, definitely not. And it's interesting because you look at this cast, and I don't know if at the time, and I know we're kind of scattershotting our thoughts all over the place. It's because there's really not a lot to talk about in the actual contents of the movie itself, because like Matt said, and I said, like, it's not the so bad it's good type, it's just kind of the bad type. But we haven't seen this movie, so we're going to give it a fair assessment thoroughly. But looking at these stars, when I'm looking at these stars, they seem like big names, but maybe back then they weren't. Like, I know Rihanna was a huge get, and that was like your big selling point. But like Brooklyn Decker, I remember, was in a few movies around the time, like Just Go With It. She was like kind of one of those gals that like all the young men would try to go see on screen because she was pretty. And then Liam Neeson, obviously a veteran actor. Alexander Skarsgård was in the height of True Blood at this time. So like I think these are pretty substantial names attached to it, and Peter Berg himself even too, because you said you were fond of his first few films. So I don't think it necessarily had the recipe to fail. I think just the recipe to fail, the stuff that made it fail was the premise itself. Because how do you take a game that is as simple as Battleship and then make it a movie, let alone 2.5 hours. You know what I mean? I think it kind of starts and ends with its premise. I don't blame this cast much for it because what do they have to work with?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you're right. Like, how do you take this game and here's the thing. Okay, first I'll talk about the cast, then we'll talk about the game adaptation. So the cast, yeah, it was not okay. I think Alexander Skarsgård is a really great actor. I think he's a very good actor. I think in almost everything he's in, he's very good. He's handsome. He's very good in almost everything I've ever seen him in.
He's a Northman.
He's a Northman, which is a movie I loved. I thought he was great in. Which makes me wonder, why was he so bad in this movie?
Yeah. And I agree. I don't think any of those names that I listed, as much as I was saying they were notable names in terms of bringing in box office money, I don't think any of them are particularly great in this. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with maybe material because, we all know what Alexander Skarsgård can do. I am not a Friday Night Lights TV person. Like, I haven't seen it, so I don't know about Taylor Kitsch as much as some others, but I think he is doing even worse in this movie. And I know there are probably people who are very fond of him as a performer, but I couldn't really get into it. Rihanna, I think she's okay for the moment she's on stage, but she's almost on screen. Sorry, I'm in theater mode, just came out of rehearsal. But it's like one of those things where I don't know. Yeah, I don't think this cast really shows their best, but I don't necessarily know if that's their fault or if it's the writing. And maybe it's a mix of both.
I would say it was a team effort. This situation. I would say that. It's writing. The writing is very bad. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. The writing is bad. Even Rihanna, I don't think she was particularly good in this movie, but I think that she did the best with the material that she was given. Not the best out of the whole cast, because there is someone who I think was actually very good, which we'll talk about toward the end. She did the best she could with the material that she had, but the lines that she had were just really bad. Her and Jesse Plemons both were, especially because they were in scenes together all the time, and they kept having to do these weird tangent lines that didn't really fit. It was
Yeah, I will say one thing about Rihanna while we're still on the cast is that I know she was one of the big highlights of the marketing, and she is not the lead of this film by any means. So she probably shouldn't have been, but I do think they were trying to think of the whole she's a music star going into film. And honestly, I think if you're going into the expectation of she's a music star, is she going to be able to act? I think she honestly impresses even more because she is able to hold her own. I think she does have a good screen presence,
right?
Which shouldn't surprise because musicians just have a natural good presence. But I just don't know if you watch Cats and you leave saying, "Oh my God, Taylor Swift, she really shined in that." You leave Star Is Born saying that about Lady Gaga. Here, I think it's one of those things where because the movie's so bad, she does kind of stand out, but at the same time, she's not like the Lady Gaga. Oh my God, she's meant to do this too, not just.
I agree, and that was kind of my takeaway as well. She's not Lady Gaga. She is not Justin Timberlake. Who have proven that they are good on screen, and that they actually are good actors. But she's also not Taylor Swift, and she's she's not. I can't even. Who's a bad musician actor? I don't know even. I can't even. I wish I had a second.
Plenty, but
wish I had a second example.
Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones, maybe. I don't know.
He was fine. It was fine.
It was fine. But yeah. I think she had a tough task, and I think she does do well. I mean, we'll get to later, the actors that elevated or ruined it or whatever, because there are a lot of actors that ruined it. But I thought she was bearable enough to where if you're going to this movie to see Rihanna act for the first time, if that's your selling point, I think you'd be kind of okay walking out of it being that was fun. She did well. But if you're going into the movie for any other reason, you're probably going to be disappointed. And I think, Matt, you were going to get into it a little bit with the actual premise.
While we're still on the actor, because I do still want to talk about the actor, because you were saying why, because you were kind of posited, why are these actors who are normally good, well, some of them who are normally really good, not good in this movie, and I said part of it's the acting because the writing, because the writing is bad. Part of it is the directing, because I think there was a singular vision and it was not character development.
Yeah, it was spectacle driven.
It was
Which
spectacle driven.
is fine to an extent, but then don't make it 2.5 hours long. You know,
Right,
if you're gonna
exactly.
just go with like we're just gonna be faithful to the game and just have the battleships, shoot stuff and demolish each other, and let's add
Man, it's so
aliens.
good.
Sure, do it for 90 minutes, 80 minutes. Don't try to give a forced character arc when you don't
Right.
need to.
Right, exactly. And the third thing is that I think this was a good paycheck for a lot of people. I think that was what it was. I think Liam Neeson did not come into this movie to give his all. He was not giving an Oscar performance. He knew that. I mean, he's at that stage in his life where people, kidnap something from him in a movie, and then he has to, the way he gets it back changes, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, Taken 2 did come out in 2012. Yeah, because I was
Yeah.
looking at the list of movies I was going to watch for this retrospective, and
Right.
Taken 2 was low on the list, but it was on the list.
Right.
I didn't watch it yet as of the time of recording. I might sneak it in, but yeah, he was not, at his peak.
No, he this time in his career, and he's still kind of in that, but we've accepted it a little bit more. But in that time, it's like when Die Hard came out and everything had to be Die Hard in a blank, except with a different actor. They did that with Liam Neeson, except it was Liam Neeson's in a blank. Like,
and sometimes it would be a crossover. It'd be Liam Neeson is in a Die Hard in a blank.
right,
like the train one.
Right. So I think a lot of it is that as far as Friday Night Lights, the series, I have watched 10 episodes so far, but this was like a year and a half ago because I promised Chad Webb from Picture This, promised him that I would watch it if he would watch The West Wing, and he only watched one episode. So Chad, if you're watching, you're on notice. Anyway. I digress.
But tell me, does Taylor Kitsch, is he a good actor everywhere else? Because I haven't seen him in much. I think he's in one of the X-Men things. He's not in enough of stuff that I can be like, oh, this isn't what I'm used to. Like Alexander Skarsgård, I can look at it and I'd be like, he's not his best here.
Right. This is not his Big Little Lies role. Like, yeah. Yeah. So okay. So Taylor, I've actually talked to my friend Mike. We talked about this a lot, and he makes a good point. He had said, and I'm going to steal it from him, which is that Taylor Kitsch made all the right choices. Just he made the right choices on the very wrong movies. And the thing is that Taylor Kitsch, he did the big spectacle movie that cost $300 million, or $200 million. He did that movie. He took the Wolverine or the
X-Men Origins
Gambit role for Wolverine. He made that right choice. He took the freaking John Carter role.
I didn't realize that was John Carter. Also 2012. Also a movie that I did not watch for this retrospective.
Yeah. He took John Carter, which honestly is one of his better performances. And if they had just added Of Mars, they would have set expectations. John Carter of Mars, if they had called it that, they would have set expectations. Everybody wouldn't have been so disappointed. But he did that. He did True Detective season 2. It was not, I don't think it was his fault. It was the worst season of that show. It was just, he did the second season of a very critically acclaimed show. So the thing is, he makes the right choices. Mm-hmm. He makes all the right choices. They just keep failing. He keeps making the right choices on the wrong projects. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Is he a good actor? Sometimes. I watched the Waco miniseries that he was in. He played David Koresh. He's fantastic. He's very, very good in that movie or that show.
So I think that just goes to show that because I, as someone who didn't know him very well, seen him in X-Men Origins, but very few projects since there. I would never know he was a good actor from this. And to the point where it was almost grating. And I never mean to be disrespectful, but we're critiquing the movie. I found his performance almost hard to watch, because it was kind of just the same note, and it just kind of drove me a little crazy. Both him and Alexander Skarsgård in this, which is a testament to how bad this movie is, that you can get performers that, like Matt, you have said, have done good work and give performances like this. It's kind of a shame, because usually, the actors in these types of movies that we usually talk about on this show are either in on the joke or they're so not in on the joke that it's enjoyable because they're so far removed from it. But when you're kind of giving it enough to fit the project, but not giving it your all to actually exceed it, that's when it just comes across as bland. And I think that's what this is. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that Peter Berg probably stepped on set every day and said, "All right, everybody, we're making a board game movie. No need to get too excited." And that's how the movie feels.
Yes. So let's talk though about the adaptation and just the choice to make this into a movie and like just the overall plot, because it is very basic.
It is very
and just
basic.
our thoughts on that, because Matt, I'm sure you do have thoughts.
Yes, I do. Okay, so the film centers on a young ruffian.
Lieutenant, yeah.
Well, he's not a lieutenant when it starts.
Oh, true.
When it starts, he's apparently a, I don't know, he drinks too many beers, maybe. We don't really get a good sense of what his issue is, except for that he annoys his brother.
He annoys his brother, and he tries really hard for the girls he really, really likes to look at. And this opening scene, I know we're not going to go scene by scene, but this opening is important to talk about because I have never seen anything like it. It feels like a whole different movie from what was advertised and what you think is going to be going in. It's a scene. Alex Hopper is his character, brother of Stone Hopper, which, by the way, naming a character Stone Hopper is quite hilarious. But yeah, Alex
got to
Hopper,
commit to a name like that, and they did not.
Alex Hopper is trying to hit on this girl, played by Brooklyn Decker, and decides, because she wants a burrito from a bar. First of all, guys, if you're gonna order bar food at a bar that does not typically serve food, you get like some nuts in a bowl, or you get like basic nachos or something not very complicated, not easy to screw up. But ordering a burrito at a bar, even if it's a microwave burrito, I would just wait and eat pizza back home. But that's beside the point.
Chicken burrito, roger that.
She wants a burrito so bad at this bar.
I want a chicken burrito.
Johnny, chicken burrito her.
It ain't happening.
Chicken burrito her.
Kitchen's closed, Hopper.
So bad.
When I don't know, she really wants this microwave burrito so bad that he runs and vandalizes a store to get this burrito, to heat it up at the store, not heat it up back at the restaurant where there is a microwave. Heat it up at the store, then run this hot burrito supposedly across back to the bar while getting chased by the authorities and getting tased down to the floor, trying to deliver this burrito to this girl. And I don't know if this was supposed to be funny or just like show how desperate he is, or just kind of like make us like, oh, he's fun. First of all, vandalism is not good.
Right.
B, I get the whole love at first sight thing, but like, why not just say, hey, let's go get a burrito somewhere else? Like, let me take you to this restaurant, or like, let me cook you something in my place, or, with consent, but it's like, it just seems so crazy. But, and that's where I was kind of like, oh, is this movie? It's kind of crazy. And then everything after that was boring as hell.
Okay.
But
yes.
like, that was a fun opening scene. I was like, wow, okay, this is like so weird.
Okay. So yes. So number one, just before I talk about the scene, number one, the fact that what you said, hey, let's go get a burrito someplace else, you're gonna do all right, Dyl. That's all I have to say about that. Number two, you know how I told you I don't have very many notes because this movie didn't really offer very many notes.
Yes.
Almost all of my notes are about this scene. So
me too. That's why I'm so excited to talk about it, because like that scene, I was like dialed in.
We're not going scene by scene, but we
2
are
hours and
talking
30
about
minutes. The next 2 hours and 30 minutes, I was like, okay. But that scene, the burrito scene, was some of the weirdest and most interesting cinema I've seen in 2012.
Okay. So yes. So yes, we're not going scene by scene, but we are talking about this scene.
We'll talk about the scene, then talk about the whole 2 hours after that in in a short
Okay, so it starts off with, and here's the thing. I have written down unreasonably long conversation. I did rewind it. Okay, so full disclosure, I watched like the first 10 minutes, and then while I was working, and I was like, I probably need to pay attention to this because I have to do a show about it. So I turned it off, and then I went back to when I went to watch it, my wife wanted to watch it with me. She doesn't usually watch these with me because this is not really her bag, or so I thought. She was very game, and we had a very good time watching this movie and making fun of it together. So I'm going to have to start including her in my viewings. Anyway, So when I watched it the second time, it wasn't nearly as long as it felt the first time, but the unreasonably long conversation about how Taylor Kitsch shouldn't waste his wish on a girl. Now, here's the problem with this scene, and it's not necessarily that it's long, because it obviously wasn't very long when I watched it the second time. They didn't talk that long, but they definitely talked too much about something that isn't real, which is a wish on your birthday. And I know it's supposed to be a charming back and forth between the brothers, but the writers forgot that birthday wishes aren't real because it got too heated, and I think the actors played into what was written, which was this weirdly contentious, heated scene about birthday wishes.
Yeah, it's almost like I wish they went that route where like his wishes would actually like come true. Like, but then it's a whole different movie, and it's like, why didn't you just make this weird movie about these weird brothers? And and somehow this is going to become a military propaganda film about aliens and battleships. Oh, okay. Steal a burrito.
So we've started on this level, on this note where it's just these brothers have a weird relationship, and the dialogue is really weird and clunky in that scene too, because the dialogue is bad, but Taylor Kitsch's character, Alex Hooper, I guess is what we call him, or Hooper, what's his name? Hopper. Yeah.
Stone Hopper,
yeah. Okay. Hopper says at one point, "You just said job twice," noting he references how bad the writing is in that scene, which for a second makes me go, do they know? But I don't think I feel like they don't. I feel like if they knew, they would have done better, or maybe they can't, and they were excusing themselves.
Yeah, it almost seems like they had the premise for the battleship stuff, and they were like, "Well, we need a little bit of exposition. Where's the pile of scripts we threw away? Here, let's take this one. Oh, this is cool. This is about some guy who makes a magical birthday wish with his hard, stubborn brother. Like, let's throw this in there. It's a fun little opening scene that we can use to introduce our characters because they do feel very tonally separate.
Right.
Yeah."
And then he goes up to the girl in the bar, and they have this exchange, which is bad. It's supposed to be a joke, but it's bad, and it's bad because it goes one step too far, or at least the ending the punchline should have been a very different situation.
What's your name?
I'm hungry.
It's not your name.
That's not your name.
And the joke is when if you're gonna make that joke, you say, "Hi, hungry, I'm Alex."
Exactly.
You don't say your name. Yeah.
She says, "That's not your name." We all know that's not her name. That's you almost like it's like the writers know what's happening. It's like it's like Alex is, because this is the second time that Hopper has referenced the bad writing in this thing in just a minute's worth of screen time.
Yeah.
So it's like they know, but I don't think they do. Okay, and then we get to my favorite part of this scene. Okay, so she argues about the chicken burrito. She wants chicken burrito. He doesn't. She's weirdly adamant about the chicken burrito to this bartender who is clearly not going to budge. He comes over, does his suaveness, goes to the convenience store. When he goes to the convenience store, she locks up. He tries to convince her, and she gives the greatest reason I've ever heard in any medium.
Too late, bro.
Okay, it's right there.
Please. It's too late to eat a burrito. Too many complex carbs.
$3.99.
I tell you, this whole scene is like in its own. Like, this should have just been its own short film, and we could have spent 2 hours talking about a Framewreck episode for that, because that is the kind of shit we love on Framewreck. Like, I wish the whole movie was like that, because that is so bad it's good. It's so bad it's good. Like, the first act of this, or the first 10 minutes of this movie, is what we look for when we look for Framewreck.
Right, and yes, exactly, and then he breaks in somehow. We don't get to really see they're going for a comedy bit with him falling through the roof. But number one, there's just so much destruction when he falls through the roof. I'm very curious what he does to get to that point, because there's just a lot of just debris all over the place.
Yeah.
And then he smashes a bunch of stuff, leaves $3 or something, as though that's fine. Breaks more stuff, gets arrested, and then he runs back, and it's this nice moment, or it's meant to be like this romantic moment, and then it turns into what's meant to be comedy with him getting tased, and then he makes it. He hands her the burrito, and she just looks at it, and then the scene ends. She doesn't look grateful. She doesn't look. You get no indication of what's going to happen. Honestly, if I had cared at all, I would have assumed that he never sees her again. So the fact that they are
very
dating,
next scene, he is trying to propose to her father,
exactly.
who is Liam Neeson. Yeah, which means is there going to be is there going to be a sequel where she gets taken and Liam Neeson has to save her? We'll find out, because you know what happens when Liam Neeson has daughters in movies. Yeah, so this scene is very, very Framewreck worthy, but and I believe it's our Framewreck moment.
Right.
But then afterwards, like what up? Like that this whole movie. Matt, tell us, sum it up, because it's very easy to sum up this movie, the rest of it, because it is kind of the same scene for 2 more hours.
Okay, so then the aliens attack. Okay, so they found a planet G, which is a Goldilocks planet. It gets incapable of sending human life, and they send a sky beam to it. And
strike one.
Yeah,
sky beams.
Yep.
Not even in 2012. Not even in 2012.
Well, there was a pretty good sky beam in 2012. You did a commentary on it.
We did, and even then, I still, in retrospect, I still don't love sky beams. It's one of the more tolerable sky beams, but still,
I don't love sky beams either. But it's one of the best. I think it's one of the more excusable. Yeah, one of the most tolerable sky beams.
We're talking about the Avengers for anyone wondering, and if you are wanting to check out a commentary of that, I did a retrospective 10 years later commentary on that. I like that movie a lot more than I like this one, so go check it out.
So they send a sky beam to communicate with it, and then are very surprised when someone hears it and comes knocking. And here's the thing. Okay, and then things, battleships happen. They fight. Things get blown up. We'll kind of go into a few of these things as we go, but they fight. Alexander Skarsgård gets killed immediately after Hopper says, "No one's dying today."
Right.
His brother gets
seemed like such a cliche, but also Taylor Kitsch again. Almost as if he had seen a leaf fall off of a tree. Could not care less that his brother has just died.
There's a second, maybe there's afterward, like
right.
He's trying, like it's meant to sell that he's sad about his brother. Does not seem to care 1 second for the rest of the movie.
No,
beyond that.
No, which I mean, if they're going the route of my brother sucks, I hate him, then sure, but they didn't lean into it enough. But maybe there's some animosity there, but I feel like you would have at least some sort of reaction, even if it is a pleasant, more relieved one. Have that reaction, not just
right. And it was certainly. I mean, it's certainly meant to be a. It's his call to action. Like that's the situation there. And here's the thing, and I didn't talk about this. I didn't cover this, but there's a storyline going on before this, which is that Hopper is a hothead. Because now I just realized there's 2 scenes we have to talk about here. First, we have to talk about the soccer scene. He gets kicked in the face. Mm-hmm. He's kicked in the face, and then he's adamant that he's going to make this shot. Number one, I mean, whoever let him do it. They are equally to blame for him being allowed to continue to take this penalty shot. Number 2, if you want to make it feel tense or make that moment feel like it has any stakes at all, don't have him kick it over the freaking goal. Have it go and make it look like it might go, and then the goalie tips it out. Oh no, that's bad. Maybe some tension. It's almost like maybe we would have had an emotion for a second. Yeah,
it's almost like you're asking for like an actual good thought out shot.
Yeah. Oh, God forbid we get a second of emotion. That something evokes emotion in us. in this movie. No, and then I also want to talk about how this weird rivalry he has with the other Navyman. I don't remember his name. That they don't explain it. Like at no point do you understand why they're at odds, and which wouldn't be a big deal if any of their interactions were ever anything other than we're in the same room, let's get weirdly aggressive, and up until they come together, they join as one. The bonding, healing action of removing an alien's helmet together. That's the moment. That's their healing moment together, where they lock eyes for a moment before removing an alien helmet. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, Hopper is forced. This is the part that I wanted to talk about that I had left out. Hopper is forced to join the Navy somehow. I don't know how one does that.
I don't know. And I even rewound it to be like, wait, did I miss something? No, not really.
He says you're joining the Navy, and then he's like, oh no, and then he's in the Navy.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of the movie, the main objective for Hopper is to get her dad's blessing, his girlfriend's blessing to marry, because that's a very reasonable goal. But the lengths he goes, I don't know if anyone. I mean, I've been in love before. I know people who love their spouses. Like, you go to different lengths for the people you love. But joining the Navy and taking on an alien invasion on a battleship would not necessarily be the first thing I would think of. I think maybe, you have a conversation with him, or maybe you sit him down, get him a nice bite to eat. Maybe you take him out to a nice ball game or something, or play a little game of soccer with him. Something a little bit more attainable to then be able to ask, because this whole movie, if you look at it from almost as like a rom-com perspective of boy meets girl, boy steals breakfast burrito for girl, or not breakfast burrito, but chicken burrito for girl, microwavable chicken burrito, wants to get dad's blessing, can't get it because dad thinks he's like a no good whatever meathead. He goes off to this, prove his worth to the dad, ends up getting the blessing in the end, gets the girl, runs away. Like, there's a very basic template, but then the middle section of trying to win over the dad's respect is by literally taking on an alien invasion in a battleship in the Navy that he is forced to join. So it's not even a choice that he makes to then impress the father. It's, oh, I'm already forced into this, and now I want to try to use this to impress my father, even though I am a bum.
They were doing an Armageddon without actually doing the work to get the father to gain respect for him.
Right. Yes, I've never seen Armageddon, so I didn't even know that was a similarity. But
there is, yes.
that seems like a very interesting premise if that's the way they go by, if it with better execution. So I'm glad there is a movie that is slightly better. I hope that does have that carry this kind of theme through better.
Armageddon is great. Fun. Armageddon is great. It's ridiculous. It's not bad enough for this show, but it is ridiculous, but also great. It's one of the good Michael Bay movies where. But that knows what it is. Anyway, after he's forced to join the Navy, the rest of the movie, or at least up until it stops mattering because of all of the death and destruction, is him finding out from multiple people that he's about to be kicked out of the Navy. Yeah. And this makes him sad, which I say, why? You're free of this prison they are forcing you to be in. You did not want to join the Navy. They forced you to join the Navy.
Right. Yeah, true. It's like, oh, you have detention. Oh, but they're going to kick you out of detention. Right. You say, great, bye.
Yeah. So aliens attack. We get some up close and personal views of the aliens. And here's just the big misfire for me. I mean, it's all misfire. They give us a point of view of the aliens several times throughout the movie. And when they do that, they clearly show us we are not here to kill humans. If it's a human, it turns green, they walk away from them. If it's a rectangle, I guess, my wife and I were trying to figure this out, then they destroy it. They never at any point attempt to get you to understand what the alien's motivation is. At no point do you understand,
No.
well, they're not trying to kill them, or really it seems invade. They are definitely trying to destroy specific things, because they'll zero in on things, and you think, oh well, maybe it's weapons. Well, but no, sometimes it's like the pipes in a ship. Like, what are you trying to do? Obviously you're not trying to kill these people. You will, because they're firing on you, but if they're not firing on you, you're not trying to kill us. What are you trying to do? Make us explain, make us understand, even if it's just a little bit, even if you hint at it, do that. At no point do they attempt to make you understand what the aliens are doing.
No.
They they leave a breadcrumb and it leads nowhere.
And that's why I say this whole next 2 hours after that beginning chunk doesn't really have much variance to it. I mean, things happen in it, but it's all just kind of the same old, same old. I mean, you could turn this on an hour in, 2 hours in, 2 hours and 15 minutes in, an hour 45, and you're generally going to get the same stuff. A lot of explosions, a lot of really bad CGI, or not bad CGI, but very uninspired CGI.
Yeah.
Nothing you haven't seen before. Looks fine considering it was 2012, but also doesn't look great. And just kind of senseless action that really doesn't have much emotional stakes.
Right.
And there's really not much else to talk about in that. I mean, there are moments, like I said, but it's very much that note for the end of the movie.
Well, there is one part that they get to that should have been way more of the movie, based on what it's based on, and that is the time when they figure out, oh, this is how we are, and then we fire on them from here. That made it feel like a Battleship movie. It was at least interesting because they kept missing, and I was like, oh, it's a miss, and then, oh, that's a hit.
Yeah.
But that was finished. That the aliens were getting too close at that point, and then you were like, oh, this is not going to last very long, and then it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And then we went into all this other stuff.
Well, because a game of Battleship lasts like a few minutes, and then you re-rack and play another game. And that's the thing, is from the very get-go, this is just not a game that can be adapted into a film if you want to make it an adaptation of a game. If you want to just use the look of this and make a movie, fine. But it seemed like they were in that moment trying to be faithful to the game, but there's really so much you can do to be faithful to a game like Battleship. It's not even like a Monopoly or Candyland where there's different locations and different, it's strictly just hit or miss. And you, how do you fill 2.5 hours of that? You can't. And that's what makes it so boring, quite frankly.
Yep. And then they commandeer an old battleship, the USS Missouri. Get a bunch of veterans, which I didn't look into this, and I should have. I assume those are actual veterans, which is cool. I
think that's a cool choice. Yes, I think this film gets a little bit more pro-military than some people would like to an extent, but I think in that moment and in those moments, it does feel like that was a pretty solid choice, pretty notable choice. So
I can't really tell you what happened beyond that because it's just boring. They win.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of explosions, and that's that. He does get the girl. He does get the blessing. Everything's good at the end. His brothers died, but he could care less. Just a few things I want to just touch on, little moments throughout that I noticed that I wrote down. Rihanna, I think she's fine in this, but she has this hat. She refuses to take it off to the point where she's in the water. Even in the water, she has to. There's a shot of her literally making sure her hat is on, which I just think, because I've been swimming and sometimes have been swimming unintentionally, I've fallen in, and usually the hat is not the thing you prioritize. Usually it's getting back on board or swimming or treading water, not let me make sure it's on. Okay, now I can tread.
I noticed that too, and here's my theory is Halloween 2012. They were looking for the Halloween 2012. Everybody's dressed as Rihanna. If you don't have the hat cocked sideways, or whatever, however she wore it, how are you going to be Rihanna?
I thought there was a movie that came out in 2012, from the Halloween franchise. And I was wait, why can I not remember? I thought you were making a reference.
No. I'm talking. They were banking on Halloween.
Yeah. Well, movies like this, you have to bank on that, the merchandise, because there's not going to be any, like I said, awards coming from it, which we'll get to in a bit with Legacy. There were some awards that came of it, one for Rihanna herself. But yeah, another thing, Jesse Plemons, we kind of touched on earlier. the very weird racist remarks at the beginning when everyone's getting introduced and he's saying hello in their respective language, which is fine until you add like the really offensive stereotype accent on top of it. Thought it was a
Yeah,
little weird, especially when you're saying it to Rihanna, who is a person of color. Just saying.
yeah,
Liam Neeson, he's in it, but he also just disappears for 2 hours and then he comes back. Another thing, aliens. I like the alien design. I think it's interesting. I think, as if we didn't get enough Lincoln in 2012 with Daniel Day-Lewis. I think the chin whiskers give us a little bit of Abe Lincoln vibes, which I kind of didn't hate. But yeah, and then I just wrote down a lot of AC/DC, and that
yeah.
was the
A lot
extent
of
of my notes.
AC/DC.
that was
A
just
lot
the
of
extent of my
AC/DC.
notes. It's really not
One of
much.
the best moments, or some of the best stuff in this movie, was me getting to seeing Thunderstruck during the movie. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty much. I like the design of the aliens. I wish we had a lot more of the aliens. Like I said,
Yeah,
I wanted to know their
I agree.
motivations, but it's not just that. Like
Yeah.
I would have loved some interaction. I would have loved
Yeah.
some. They had to make a war film, I guess, so they couldn't humanize them very much, even though they definitely were trying to a little bit, but didn't follow through.
Mhm.
I like how they're like all thumbs, like they've got like 3 thumbs on their hand, and that's it.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty cool. How they're almost humanoid because they do come from or how they're almost human or human-like because they come from a Goldilocks planet. Like I think
Right.
that's pretty cool. Like there's some cool design choices in that. We just did not get enough of them.
Yeah. So is it time now to maybe transition into some other talking points like the
Yeah.
legacy? Because I have something to say about legacy. First off, um, uh, people have made the joke that this is like bad CGI Titanic 2. And it's funny enough because in its opening weekend, it didn't even gross number one at the box office on its first weekend. It came in second behind the 3D re-release of Titanic.
Oh,
So I thought that
wow.
was fun that there was a battleship movie that was brand spanking new with Rihanna in it, Liam Neeson in it. And then there was this old movie that everyone had seen when it came out in theaters, except for the people like me who weren't born yet who wanted to go see the re-release. I saw the re-release. I did not see Battleship. That just goes to show how badly either marketed it is or reviewed it was that people chose to see the 20-year-old movie that they had all seen before. All 3 hours, boobs and all. They wanted to see that again in 3D over this movie because this was that bad. Just something important to note. And also the Razzies, it got nominated for a bunch. It got nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Supporting Actor for Liam Neeson, which I don't think is necessarily warranted. Worst Supporting Actress for Brooklyn Decker and Rihanna. Again, I don't think it's necessarily warranted. Rihanna, though, wins Worst Supporting Actress, which I also thought was a little far-fetched. Worst Screenplay and then Worst Screen Ensemble. So they really went all in. They gave him the big five. Any
I
thoughts
don't.
on that?
I not much. I mean, it all makes sense. Razzies or whatever, but
Yeah.
it makes all most of what they said makes sense. And a
Any
lot of
guess
times they're
for what
just
won in 2012 for Worst Picture?
in 2012. What worst picture? I searched a lot of bad movies in 2012 trying to find one, but I can't think of any of them right now. What one?
All right, so the winner was the Twilight Saga Part 2: Breaking Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm a bit of a fan of those movies. I know we'll eventually get to them on this
We will,
show.
because I've
The
never
other
seen it.
nominees were Battleship, A Thousand Words, that Eddie Murphy movie. This one's a fun one. The Oogie Loves in the Big Balloon Adventure. Have no idea what that is. And
I don't
then
either.
my least favorite movie of 2012, That's My Boy, which is not so bad it's good. It's just atrocious. Yeah, so those are the nominees. I probably would have gone with That's My Boy as the worst, but in terms of so bad it's good, this Oogie Loves thing looks appealing, so I might have to check that out someday.
I'd like sweet pickle, dill pickle, warm pickle, chill pickle, please.
My favorite.
I could use some fish toast bismol right now.
I didn't know Brooklyn Decker. Is that her name? I didn't know her at all. I had never seen her. My wife was watching. She's like, "What is she? What? I haven't seen her in a long time." I was like, "I've never seen her," and and she was like, "No, she's been in stuff." And so my wife looked her up, and it was just a bunch of things, a bunch of like. There's a few Adam Sandler movies around the time where I never watched Adam Sandler movies, and
that was at the age too where Adam Sandler in that movie, there's like that shot in the trailer of Just Go With It where like his wife comes out of the water with a bikini on, and like that was every guy my age at the time. We were all 14, like that love of like, oh my god, hot woman. Like it was very, very gross behavior of us, but like, that was what Brooklyn Decker was known amongst my friends as, was the hot chick from Just Go With It, which is unfair to her, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize to her if she ever watches this, which I hope she doesn't. Her performance I don't think is that bad in this, but maybe you might disagree. But I think
No, honestly,
I'm sorry, Brooklyn Decker, for ever objectifying you like that when I was 14 in 2012. That's one thing about this retrospective is I'm able to assess myself as a viewer and hope that I've grown a little bit. But yeah, that was what I remember Brooklyn Decker from. But I agree, she hasn't done a ton, especially since.
I would like to take this moment to apologize to everyone I've objectified. No, I'm just kidding. That would be a long list because I was a teenager in the 90s, so it was even worse back then. We cared even less about autonomy. Anyway, what I was going to say is, yeah, if she is watching, I'm not going to say the bad things about her because there came a point where like I ragged on her for that first scene and how all that went down. After basically once she starts like the hike with the disabled veteran guy, after that, like she's actually pretty good. Like her scenes are probably the most compelling scenes in the movie after that, which we didn't talk about because we were talking about the garbage.
But also like they're so minuscule in comparison to the rest of them, and they should have more weight and impact. But
yeah, well, and they're the movie throws them away as well. Like you get a few of them. It seems like there's character building happening, some characterization going on, and then they just kind of throw it away, and kind of suddenly they were in a they find car accidents and stuff. Like it was. Right. It was barely. They didn't do anything with that. So anyway, I thought she was actually pretty good. I mean, in this movie, for someone that I didn't know at all, and especially because after that first scene, I expected her to just be bad throughout the movie. I was actually pretty impressed with her for most of the movie.
Cool. Do we want to get to our actor and actress that elevated, and we can do all those little superlatives that we give out? Do you think it's time?
Let's do it.
Cool. So, Matt, you lead me through it because I don't remember the checklist.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And we agreed the train wreck moment of the movie was just that whole
the burrito
part,
it's amazing.
The burrito scene. Yeah,
and I'm not even going to waste time with Mount Trashmore. I don't think it's going to go on there, so we don't even need to spend time on it. Mount Trashmore, if you want to know, it's the Mount Rushmore bad movies, and this is not coming close to it because that Mount Rushmore is devoted specifically to bad movies that we love. This is a bad movie we don't care for. So that'll be that.
Yeah. Okay. So first we go with worst line of dialogue, and
I have a good one.
I have a good one too, and actually, why don't you go first because I have something.
I don't know if it's the same one. I don't even know who says it and when, but I just heard it and went, "Ha, there it is." I'm not saying you're a boob, but this is boobish behavior.
That's a good one. It's good and bad. It's the right kind of bad. Like
it fits the show vibe, but not this movie's vibe. I wish more of the movie was that.
It's a real good bad. My favorite line of dialogue, or my worst line of dialogue, is actually not a line of dialogue said in the movie. The worst line of dialogue in the movie is a line they didn't say, which is at no point did they say, "You sunk my battleship." And they could have. And if they had, that would have meant they were embracing the movie that they were making. But they didn't. His brother was on a battleship when it was destroyed. He could have angrily yelled, You came to my planet, you killed my brother, you sunk my battleship. Like, that would have been awesome.
I would have given it more than half a star if it had done that, or more than a star. I don't know. I don't want to spoil my ranking here, but on Letterboxd, I gave it, I think, a half a star or a star. I forget. That might have elevated it for me.
Yeah, it would have embraced what was going on. Yeah, it would have been good. All right, so then we come to worst actor. And for me, I'm going to go first on this. And for me, it comes down to it's not, maybe this person isn't necessarily the worst actor in the movie, but he definitely is. It definitely is his worst performance that I've seen. And because he's such a good actor normally, and he was so bad in this movie, I have to give it to Alexander Skarsgård in this movie.
Yeah, that's a valid pick, 100%. I go with his brother Taylor Kitsch because for the same reasons. We know they're capable of more, but they gave us some shite performances. Yeah.
And then we come to actor who elevated the material. Do you have one? Because I have one.
You know what? I might say Liam Neeson only because I think he's never really been bad in anything. I think he does a fine job. He doesn't do necessarily a bad job, but
Yeah.
I think he's already such a competent actor that even his worst is someone else's best. I think Rihanna also brings a lot of good screen presence despite it being her first role. And yeah, I don't know the name of the actor. Yes, Gregory D. Gadson, as the double amputee has some moments that like I liked, but I think it's more because I just liked seeing an actor. I don't know if he is an actual disabled actor, but I believe he is, and I
Yeah.
liked seeing that actor get an opportunity. Reminded me of The Best Years of Our Lives, one of the main actors
Right.
in that. So it was just nice to see an actor get that opportunity. Not necessarily a great performance, but something that elevated the material because I was
Yeah.
invested in the fact that this actor was getting an opportunity to act despite being a double amputee.
He
Probably not
was
getting many other roles.
Yeah, he was almost mine. I think that he has the
Mhm.
right attitude, and everything is working right for. He does
Right.
everything right. I think the material is bad. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he didn't end up being mine. Actor who elevated ended up being Hamish Linklater, who
Oh, yeah,
was
yeah.
the scientist. Like, I think
Yes.
that he was in the right. Like, he knew what movie he was in,
Mhm.
and the material definitely benefited him in a way it didn't benefit other people. And he was actually entertaining to me. And maybe it's just because Hamish Linklater is just entertaining to me, but he was actually
Yeah.
entertaining to me. And so that's why he elevated the material for me.
Yeah, people should check out Midnight Mass on Netflix if they haven't, because he's supposedly very good in that. I have not seen it, but I've
I
heard
haven't
good
seen
things.
it either. Yeah.
Um,
Um, okay. And that leads us to scoring, which you kind of alluded to earlier.
yeah,
Um,
I can go right now.
Yeah.
So I give Battleship. I didn't rate this out of 5. I just said it was one complex carb too much, and then I put hashtag Battleship sunk.
I also didn't rate it out of 5, but I did give it a C2 miss.
That is good. I think we both took creative spins on that, and I'm very proud of both of us for that. Perfect, love it.
Okay. I think that. Oh, and then now we're not worrying about trash more, but now we announce next month's movie.
Yes, so that was Battleship. We were letting it sink. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining. I'm sorry it was such a negative discussion. I mean, we're trying not to harp on it too much. We try to give some positives. We did enjoy that one scene a lot. But yeah, in the future we're gonna try to keep it to movies that we either know are so bad it's good, or one of us has seen and can say it's so bad it's good, so we can at least give more positive
If this is your
praises of
first
movies.
if this is your first time watching Framewreck, know that normally our that we start this podcast by saying, tell me why this movie is great, and then we list these things,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
to us that makes these movies great. This just happened to be a movie that did not have the greatness.
I agree.
attached.
And if you want to check out more reviews of some more positive stuff, you can check them on my Letterboxd for the 2012 movies that I've been reviewing on there. We also did an Avengers commentary 10 years later. We're going to have a picture of this episode coming out in a few days of the Best Picture nominees 10 years later. And then I'm going to do a top 10 video of the movies that came out 10 years ago. So we're going to have a lot of stuff about 2012 on this channel that is a little bit more positive than this. But now going away from 2012, we have to tease the next month, as Matt said. So Matt, we have some exciting announcements because we're doing a fun theme for a fun film for a fun theme for June, and we have a fun guest. So why don't you tell us all that fun information?
Okay, so June is Pride Month, and
Yes.
we thought about this a lot, and we wanted to do something for Pride Month, but we did not want to do a movie where we wanted to be laughing at the right things, and or
Yes,
at
we
least
didn't want to be making fun of gayness and queerness and all that stuff, because Pride Month is meant to be a celebration
right,
of queerness and LGBT
right.
things and all that jazz.
And
So we
that's
did
not
not want to. Yeah.
yeah, and that's not to say we would have made fun of those things, but we didn't
No.
want to even give the impression that we were making fun
Yeah.
of those things, because that's not what the month is about. So instead of going with an overtly gay movie or LGBT queer movie that fit the criteria, we actually ended up going with a movie that has become a gay icon, which is not Friday the 13th. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
That's right.
And which is a movie that is not about homosexuality or any LGBTQ issues at all. but it has been embraced as that for reasons we will discuss next month. And as a for our first time guest on this show, we will be having my friend. You may have just seen him on the most recent episode of Draft Day. Chris Scott will be coming. He is not only an expert on queer films, but he's also an expert on horror films, and specifically slasher horror. So it's going to be a real fun conversation. Oh, he's also a bad movie guy. He and I go way back with bad movies. So
yeah, and we loved having Chris on Draft Day. A Draft Day with 5 people could get very crowded conversation, so it'll be nice to just have the 3 of us talking about this. Because I'm excited. I have not seen any other Nightmare movies except for the first, so I'm very excited. I plan on rewatching some of the Halloweens and Friday the 13th and watching all of those 3 franchises for a video I'm doing next Halloween. But I'm excited to get a head start and start here with Freddy's Revenge. Freddy's Revenge is what it's called.
Freddy's Revenge is right.
I'm very excited to check it out.
I'm so excited because I really love this franchise. Because some of them are really, really bad. Some of them are really good. I can't wait for you to watch Dream Warriors, and then we can talk about it because I love that movie. That's my favorite. It's one of my favorite horror movies. No, we won't. But I will be talking to you as your friend about it.
Nice. So yeah, that's it. Next month, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Hope I got the title right. Do you have any idea where it might be streaming? Or
I was going to have that looked up. I can do it right now. If you want to start talking the outro, I will say it.
Yeah, so you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo. Like I said, it's on HBO Max. I just checked. Dylan_Randazzo, Letterboxd, Twitter, Letterboxd. Like I said, I'm doing a 2012 retrospective. I didn't have time this month to do a bunch of video reviews, but there are written reviews. I try to give it my all and give like full, thorough write-ups on all of them because I do think it's fun to revisit these films 10 years later. Some movies got way better, some got way worse, and a lot of shaky cam in 2012. Hunger Games, Les Mis, Beasts of the Southern Wild. They got obsessed with the shaky cam. Chronicle, some good, some bad, but yeah, it was really fun to look at all those movies and keep watching them for the last few days of this month. Check that out there and check out Dyl Pickle Movie Network. All these videos. Picture This is coming in a few days. A trivia match which Matt will be a part of in a few days. Very exciting stuff. But and an Obi-Wan review hopefully coming later today, maybe for the first 2 episodes, because this is airing Friday afternoon. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Awesome. You can find me at MattmanXIII, wherever Mattmans are sold. Letterboxd, Twitter, wherever.
Cool. And we will see you next month for Freddy's Revenge. That's it. I need to get my title straight because next month is not anything but straight. We're celebrating Pride Month with Freddy's Revenge. We'll see you next month. See you guys.
What a story, Mark.